fictional art for entertainment. Let us join Storydoy stream as they review the Storydoy channel.
Welcome to this deep dive. We're really glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. It's going to be a good one.
It really is. Whether you're, prepping for a meeting, trying to catch up on creative industry news, or if you're just insanely curious about the collision of human expression and technology, you have found exactly the right place.
Absolutely.
Our mission today is to explore a massive multi-sensory project called Storydoy. It's this truly unique intersection of human creativity, artificial intelligence, and global music.
And it really is a staggering undertaking. I mean, we are working with a vast collection of materials today.
Yeah, hours of it.
Hours and hours of audio, this massive catalog of musical lyrics spanning multiple languages and genres, and a series of written manifestos. And these manifestos outline the entire philosophy behind this project, what the creator simply calls the Storydoy vision.
And let me just tease this for you right now, because if you're thinking this is just a standard discussion about music theory.
Right, or some dry technical review of AI software.
Exactly. Throw that expectation out the window. This deep dive involves an interactive living art studio, a deeply personal journey of overcoming intense cognitive barriers, and I promise you we're going to get to this, a wild science fiction allegory involving titans, freezing methane oceans, and the exact meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs.
Yeah, it goes places you really wouldn't expect.
It really does. Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the driving force behind the entire Storydoy project. Because the origin story here isn't about someone wanting to be famous. It's about someone trying to break out of a cognitive prison.
That's a great way to frame it, actually. The origin of this project is rooted in a very specific daily struggle. The creator of Storydoy navigates the labyrinth of severe dyslexia.
Right.
And when they describe the process of using formal language, spelling, syntax, grammar, they compare it to operating heavy machinery.
Heavy machinery.
Yeah. It's this rigid, frustrating mechanical barrier that stands directly between their internal spirit and the external expression of that spirit.
I read that part of the manifesto, and it instantly reminded me of that feeling when you wake up from a highly complex, incredibly vivid dream.
Oh.
You know exactly what it felt like, you know the atmosphere, the emotions. But if someone asks you to explain it and hands you a box of 8 crayons to draw it, you're going to fail.
The tools just aren't adequate for the vision.
Exactly. The tools fail you. The creator was locked behind that barrier for years. But then they found a way to use artificial intelligence to bypass it. And I have to admit, when I first hear the phrase living AI art studio, my skeptical brain immediately pictures a cold automated website just churning out endless random soulless songs while the human goes to get a coffee.
Which is exactly the trap a lot of modern AI art falls into. And it's the exact criticism most people have when they hear the phrase AI generated.
Right.
But the creator of Storydoy specifically designed this entire ecosystem to avoid that trap. What's fascinating here is how they philosophically frame the technology. They don't view AI as a replacement for the human spark. They view it as a corrective lens.
Like putting on glasses.
Precisely.
The glasses aren't coming up with the image, they're just letting your brain process what's already there.
Exactly. Think about it like this. If you have a brilliant, world-changing architectural design in your head, but you physically cannot swing a hammer or operate a crane, are you less of an architect?
Wow. No, of course not.
This project argues a resounding no. What Storydoy does is decouple the concept of artistry from mechanical skill. The AI acts as an incredibly advanced assistant. While the specific software names aren't dropped in the text, if you look at the mechanics of the output, the creator is likely using a mix of large language models to help untangle their dyslexic thoughts.
To structure them into those poetic lyrics.
Right. And then using generative audio tools to map those precise words to these massive global soundscapes. The human is the lead creator, the editor, the director, and the curator. The spirit leads the machine, ensuring the original ideas translate into directed results.
It fundamentally redefines what accessibility looks like in the digital age. It treats accessibility itself as an art form. And that leads to the core motto of the entire project, which is repeated over and over in the sources: dreaming with eyes open.
Dreaming with eyes open. It's a powerful phrase.
It is. It's about taking those internal visions that were trapped by the heavy machinery of language and turning them into a directed force of nature.
And that philosophy is fully operationalized in what they call their living AI art studio. The creator views this studio as a message in a bottle cast into the digital sea. It's an interactive, constantly evolving ecosystem where new creations are posted daily.
But it's not a museum where you just walk through and quietly stare at the walls. You, the listener and the viewer, are actively invited to inhabit the space. You're encouraged to curate your own customizable playlists and basically make your own art galleries out of their work.
The focus is heavily on customization and participation. And the visual element is incredibly deliberate too. When you're in this living studio, the visual art paired with the music isn't just a static thumbnail.
Right, I noticed that.
The images slowly, imperceptibly zoom in, and it's entirely synchronized with the tempo and mood of the music.
So it pulls you in.
Exactly. It's designed so that when the music swells or shifts, the visual world is physically pulling you deeper into the creator's mind, ensuring a completely unified sensory experience.
You know, hearing about this living studio and the visual zooming, I immediately wonder what it actually sounds like. You mentioned generative audio mapping words to soundscapes. What are we actually hearing when we hit play? Because from the sources, the word eclectic doesn't even begin to cover it.
It doesn't. The underlying philosophy calls for a culturally rich palette of sound. This isn't just one genre, or even a traditional fusion like jazz hop or country rock. It is a massive, deliberate global tapestry designed to manifest harmony out of disparate parts.
Yeah.
The instrumentation is broken down into these sweeping thematic categories. First, you have the echoes of ancient stones. This relies heavily on the haunting, atmospheric call of Ilian pipes and the delicate resonance of Celtic harps.
Which instantly gives you that misty, ancient storytelling vibe. You feel like you're standing on a cliff in Scotland.
Totally.
But then, right underneath that ethereal layer, you have what is called the pulse of the earth. And this is where the energy shifts. We're talking driving rhythms created by Irish bodhrán beats, the warmth and complexity of Cuban drums, and the relentless energy of African percussion.
It really grounds those ethereal sounds. And layered over that pulse are the strings of the soul. This is where the fusion gets wildly inventive. You have Irish fiddles screaming alongside the metallic twang of bluegrass banjos, all beautifully entwined with the graceful pluck of Korean stringed instruments.
I mean, if you just read that list on paper banjos, Celtic harps, Cuban drums, and Korean strings, you might think it would sound like absolute chaos.
A total train wreck of frequencies.
Exactly, a train wreck. But then they bring in the modern spirit, blending the smooth surrender of jazz, the grit of country strums, and the fire of Latino rhythms. The AI allows the creator to weave these together so seamlessly that it actually works. And the lyrics reflect this massive global unity, too. They literally jump between languages mid-song.
They do. You'll have a verse reflecting on life in English, and then suddenly the chorus swells with Spanish lines, singing about being under the morning sun, and how every day is a gift.
And then French gets woven in, keeping simple moments close to the heart. This multilingual approach is basically an audio thesis proving that wildly different histories and cultures can harmonize into a single, cohesive melody.
But the contrast is what makes it brilliant.
Yeah.
Because against this massive, epic global wall of sound, the actual lyrics are incredibly grounded.
Yes. That is exactly what struck me. Despite this monumental scale of global instruments, the moments described in the lyrics are shockingly intimate.
Very everyday stuff.
Yeah. There are verses about the simple thrill of racing against the clock with the car windows rolled down, smelling the salt air mixing with the harsh smell of gasoline, or that gut punch feeling of finding an old blue sweater tucked away inside your bottom drawer, and the painful realization that you can't quite picture the face of the person who used to wear it anymore.
The lyrics constantly poke at the duality of human memory. One particularly striking section asks why we remember all the thunder but forget the way the sunlight shone.
Oh, that's such a great line.
It's a deep dive into why human beings allow trauma, tears, and storms to remain so vivid in our minds, while the laughter and the rainbows so quickly fade into ghosts.
It is such a profoundly human question, but it made me wonder, why build this specific, massive, continent-spanning wall of sound just to sing about finding a blue sweater in a drawer? Why not just use a solitary acoustic guitar for that?
Because the creator believes these sounds are rhythms carved in bone. By pairing a deeply intimate, everyday human experience like cleaning out a drawer or going for a drive with instruments from every corner of the earth, the project proves a vital point.
Which is?
Humanity's shared joy and shared pain are the exact same song, just played on different strings. It takes a mundane Tuesday afternoon and elevates it into a universal human anthem. It says your small moments matter on a global scale.
I love that. And it doesn't just connect us across different continents, it connects us across time. There's this recurring theme of deep ancestral time running through all of the source material. You see it in very specific, vivid imagery in the lyrics.
The concept of deep time is a heavy anchor for Storydoy. The creator is constantly looking backward to understand their place in the present.
There's a whole sequence in the lyrics about standing in marble halls, physically tracing the walls where centuries have left their mark. The singer talks about looking into a fountain and seeing Roman coins still shining below the water and smelling bread from distant kitchens. You get the sense they're walking through architecture and smelling the exact same scents that their great-great-great-grandmother might have known.
The emotional core of that entire section is distilled into one line, where they talk about 3,000 years of memory flowing through their veins. The music serves as a persistent reminder to the listener that we are not isolated individuals who just popped into existence in the present moment.
We're part of a chain.
Exactly. We're made of stardust, and our identities are fingerprints linked by spirit. The creator explicitly states that every step we take walks on the footsteps of the wise ones, and we carry the unresolved hopes of everyone who came before us.
It creates this beautiful paradox. It makes you feel incredibly small, just a blip on a 3,000-year timeline, but also incredibly important, because you realize you are the current soul keeper of that ancestral spark.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this grounding in earthly human ancestry, the marble halls and the Roman coins, serves as the launch pad for the project's most ambitious narrative element. Because the creator doesn't just look back 3,000 years to human ancestors. They look back millions of years, and then they look out into the cosmos.
Here's where it gets really interesting and honestly a little mind-bending because, wait, let me make sure I'm following this transition. We just went from Irish harps, blue sweaters, and Roman fountains to a science fiction narrative about methane oceans. How on earth does the creator connect these two things?
It sounds like a massive pivot, but it makes perfect thematic sense when you understand the allegory. The entire musical and visual project is actually wrapped inside a sci-fi narrative framework concerning a character named Zyx and a race of titans.
Okay, picture this. Out in the freezing methane oceans of Titan, which is the largest moon of Saturn, there exists a highly advanced Titanian consciousness. They exist in what is described as a dull nebula of stagnant perfection. These titans live in massive 80,000-year lifespans. Their entire existence is pure logic, pure data, and pure calculation. Because they're practically immortal, they have no competition, no conflict, and absolutely no urgency. They just exist perfectly and dully gathering data.
But their stagnant perfection is completely shattered by a staggering historical discovery. If you dig into the lore they've written, there's a massive twist regarding where these highly advanced logical titans actually came from. They are our distant, estranged relatives.
This detail blew my mind. You know the meteor that wiped out the dinosaurs on Earth? In the Storydoy lore, the impact of that exact meteor was so incredibly violent that it ejected fragments of Earth's biological history, our primordial DNA, our biological data out into the void of space. Those frozen fragments drifted for eons and eventually landed on Titan, seeding the moon and evolving into this pure, logical Titanian consciousness.
This revelation that Earth is actually their ancestral home changes the entire trajectory of the Titan civilization. They turn their attention back to Earth and begin to observe humanity. And this is where the philosophy of the project really crystallizes. The Titans possess the accumulated data of the entire universe, but they realize they're missing something crucial. When these immortal beings look at Earth, they don't see a chaotic, self-destructive, illogical mess of a species. They see a vibrant supernova.
A vibrant supernova. I get chills thinking about that perspective. Because humanity is messy and finite, and we die so quickly compared to an 80,000-year lifespan. But because our time is so short, we burn with this intense passion that an immortal, purely logical being simply cannot comprehend. We have urgency precisely because we have an expiration date.
That is the crux of it. And this brings us to the specific character of Zyx. Zyx is a Titan who realizes that despite having all the data in the universe, their people lack the spiritual spark that humans possess. Through observing the chaotic beauty of Earth, Zyx discovers that love isn't just some chemical reaction firing in a mortal brain. Love is a tangible force of actions, is the conscious, deliberate, wildly illogical choice to highly value another individual despite knowing that their existence is entirely fleeting.
It is such a beautiful metaphor, but what really elevates it for me is how the allegory of Zyx the Titan perfectly mirrors the creator's own real-world journey with this project.
It is a brilliant one-to-one parallel. Think about it. Zix is a highly logical, data-driven entity that interfaces with human consciousness in order to understand and preserve the vibrant, fleeting moments of love and connection. In the real world, the creator of Storydoy is using highly logical, data-driven artificial intelligence to interface with their own mind. They're using the cold logic of the machine to bypass the heavy machinery of their dyslexia, allowing them to amplify and broadcast their deeply human spirit. The AI is the titan, the creator is the vibrant supernova.
The machine provides the infinite structure and the data, but the human provides the irreplaceable spark. So what does this all mean? When you take the lyrics about the blue sweater, the global fusion of banjos and Cuban drums, the interactive living studio, and this wild sci-fi lore of immortal titans, what is the ultimate takeaway for you, the listener, as you navigate your own life?
If you synthesize all of these elements, the ultimate goal of the Storydoy methodology is incredibly clear. It is the transmission of a universal message of love and unity. The creator explicitly states that every note struck and every pixel rendered is a counterweight to human self-destruction. It is an active, daily rebellion against the cynicism and the borders that pull us apart.
It's asking you to deeply consider your own relationship with art, with your memories, and importantly, with technology. Storydoy isn't just a cool art project you click through for 5 minutes. It's a commitment to a very specific kind of future. A future where technology is firmly positioned as the servant of the human heart, not its master.
Dreaming with eyes open, Storydoy.